To allow us to be able to compete on a level playing field, we've had to use existing technology to create a set of hand controls that allow us to race on a level playing field. So if you imagine you're going to chicane at 150 miles an hour, our disabled drivers have to be able to go through the chicane at the same speed as the able-bodied driver. That means braking, steering, gear down, on the throttle, off the throttle, on the brake. Now if we keep losing half a second or a few tenths of a second at every chicane, we might be the best driver on the track, but we can't be competitive. So that was the criteria that I gave the engineers, that if we can't do that, then we can't go racing. Al Locke he's the brains behind our team. He's our race engineer. I tell him what I want and how I want it. He says it's not possible, and I know it's possible because I believe in Al. The cost of the hand controls varies from about £5,000 to about £7,500. That's because we've managed to find a manufacturer in Slovenia that does all this specialist engineering.
That's fingertip control of every function of the car without the need for bells, so they can drive without using their legs. That's competitive.
None of this would be possible without Al's British engineering.
The main thing that inspires me to keep going with Team BRIT is the quest for constant improvement. You know, we've developed a set of hand controls, and we're not a team that's going to rest on their laurels. We're constantly pushing for better and faster developments.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the eTeam BRIT Summer Series, brought to you for round 5 in association with Texaco. We are here at the fantastic and iconic Suzuka International Circuit. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, your official commentator for the remainder of the Summer Series. A fantastic event. We're going to have some, we've got a fantastic grid Let me completely be honest with you. We're using Assetto Corsa Competizione with Suzuka being one of the new tracks on the DLC. I think we've got at least 25 plus drivers, including a few new entrants to boot. And it is going to be one afternoon of absolutely brilliant, fantastic racing action. As you can see, we've got some onboards here on the official stream we're broadcasting. A big thank you to Mike Yao and Simply Race for their welcome assistance in helping us to bring this through multiple platforms. So we're broadcasting on the official Team BRIT Facebook page, the Let's Race Facebook page, Simply Race's Facebook page, the official eTeam BRIT Twitch page, and Simply Races as well. And we are also on the official Simply Race YouTube channel. So please feel free to get involved, get social. Please talk with us over the course through predominantly the YouTube channel. So the format, we're currently underway with around just under 25 minutes of the official free practice session here at Suzuka, one of the most iconic race circuits in Asia, along with Fuji International Speedway. Quite a few names that you might know from both Team BRIT and also from the bigger spectrum of the racing world. We've got even videographers in this one, thanks to our very own Darren S. Cook from Scruffy Bear Pictures. A big thank you firstly to both Max Spooner and Dave Player, our respective eTeam BRIT manager and also the founder of Team BRIT and Kart Force. So we're going to see some action here very shortly. So let's see who we on board with. Looks like we've got Bobby Trundley, who's switched from a Mercedes that I think he was in earlier on. He's looks to be in an Audi this time. Audi R8 LMS GT3. So we've got quite a myriad of GT3 cars, the Lamborghini Huracan Evo GT3, the Bentley Continental GT3, the BMW M6 GT3 as well, Aston Martin Vantage V8 GT3 amongst others, and even the Lexus RCF. That's one you don't really see that often. We've also got a couple of people in the Porsches as well, the 911 GT3R, 991-2 variety, and you can just see the Ferris wheel in the background. But for those that might know of my history with Team BRIT, in 2016 I joined the team as their official press officer and worked with them and actually commentated on the team when they made their debut year in Fun Cup, if memory serves me correctly. So we've got a very, very well packed grid. I'm seriously looking forward to this. So we're now on with Ben Warren in the ACA ASP Team Mercedes AMG GT3 6.3 litre naturally aspirated V8 being chased a little bit down there by one of the Astons. We have got quite a few of them in this field. And we've also got Freddie Hunt, Texaco Valvoline ambassador. He's joining us, and he is running in the Aston Martin Vantage GT3 this weekend. So 22 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. And at the minute it is Ben Warren, I believe, in the 87, who is currently leading the way. And sure enough, there's someone who said, I might not be up to speed quickly. Well, he's proved that because he's recently taken the Scottish Motor Racing Club crown in esports, their esports spring series on the PC. John Munro, who's actually now down to a second adrift off a provisional top spot, which now goes to Riley Phillips, as we've got Alex Toth-Jones in one of the fantastic R Motorsport liveried Aston Martin Vantage GT3s. A big part of the Aston Martin fabric is R Motorsport, based out of Aston Martin St. Gillen in Switzerland, with the likes of Dr. Florian Kalmelger behind them. We've got Alex Toth-Jones and Martin Plowman from British GT. Bobby Trundley, one of our young hotshots. We've got Sandro Ballesteros, as Alex Toth-Jones makes a little bit of a mistake there. I think went in a bit too hot in the Aston and ended up going through as Freddie Hunt making his way through 130R. David Farrow, who's 1.386 seconds off of Riley Phillips, who's been helping with getting the virtual Fun Cup UK Championship up and running with Chris Hartley and Chris McCarthy and Jamie Riley-Phillips as well. That's been doing really good. So for those wondering about esports, it has filled the void in the fact of the COVID-19 pandemic not really allowing us to race anywhere. There's David Farrow in the Mercedes-AMG GT3. So we have at the moment on the timing on the left-hand side, the top 11 separated by 6.18 seconds, and we do have a fellow commentator, David Christie from the SMRC. He's currently running, he's the sole BMW M6 GT3 driver, and he's running in 11th position at the moment, a couple of places behind Freddie Hunt. There's one car that's pulled to the side heading into the Casio Triangle, and today is quite a very, well, the last 2 days have been very, very memorable for a lot of people, especially with, we lost 26 years ago two particular drivers who are stuck in our memories. One of which is Austria's Roland Ratzenberger, who was partnering David Brabham at Simtech Ford in that particular season in 1994. But the other one was a big high-profile casualty that no one saw coming, and it was the late Ayrton Senna de Silva, who passed away today 26 years ago. He would have turned 60 earlier on this year, so we are racing in their honour. Of course, we've got a lot of things to talk about. And many people will think, well, what is the Team BRIT, eTeam BRIT Summer Series all about? It's a 30-minute practice session, 30-minute qualification session, open qualifying, and then we have a 1-hour race. There's been some changes in the meantime from the tyre. Each driver has to complete a mandatory pit stop, and that will be between the pit stop open window, which will start at 20 minutes into the race after we go green, and then it will close 20 minutes before the end of the race. The pit stop time was originally 50 seconds. It is now 30 seconds. As we have Bobby Trundy in the very, very fluorescent turquoise blue Audi R8 LMS GT3. So he's just come through 200R up towards Spoon Curve. Let's see how he handles this. So they're braking from around about 180 to, well, 230 kph as we see a few more drivers trying to get themselves out of the pit lane. I'll hopefully speak to some drivers during qualification and also during free practice. There is one person that I'd love to have a real good chat with, and he is our newly introduced eTeam BRIT manager, Max Spooner, who is one of the many competitors with us. So let's see. Let's have a right, ladies and gentlemen, as we've got about 17 minutes and 53 seconds on the clock still to go, let's introduce Max Spooner, our eTeam BRIT team manager. Max, welcome, and thank you very much for jumping in and joining eTeam BRIT. How are you? I'll just wait for him to, if he can. I'll just see if I can just. I'm just going to try and message him in a second. It's one of these things, modern technology. It's far.
Can you hear me?
I can indeed.
There we go. The
Hello,
joys
Max.
of modern technology, eh?
I know. It's fantastic, isn't it? Thank you very much for jumping on board during the practice session. How are things your end? I know that you're getting yourself steeled and ready for what's going to be a fantastic fifth round. We've had 4 different winners from the 4 initial races, from Brands Hatch to Spa-Francorchamps, the Hungaroring, and also, of course, the home of British motor racing last time out at Silverstone. Welcome on board to eTeam BRIT. Welcome to the virtual commentators box overlooking the start-finish straight. How are things your side, my friend?
They've been very busy. So we've been working very hard on not only this series as well, but also getting eTeam BRIT back out racing again. So we've got new drivers on board who are going to be out racing this weekend on iRacing. So I've taken over proceedings for about a week, 10 days now, and yeah, things are progressing very smoothly.
That's really good to hear. Now, how did you get involved with eTeam BRIT? Because there's always a story behind how people join particular organisations, especially with something with such credence as Team BRIT, because we know that the virtual racing world and the real racing world goes hand in hand. I mean, take a look at who we've had that have made the transition. You know, we've had the likes of Lucas Ordonez and Jan Mardenborough graduate from Gran Turismo, and Jan now is racing the Super GT in Japan when everything gets back underway. It just shows how really, really intrinsic these games are and how realistic they are as well. I mean, how did you come to join eTeam BRIT, Max?
So I joined eTeam BRIT. So I've known Dave, who runs Team BRIT now for a number of years back, even as far back as when he started Kart Force, and I had been in a bit of a lull because you were saying about drivers making that switch from sim racing to real racing. Well, I had done that myself with competing in the 750 Motor Club Low Cost Championship. But as with all these things, you know, money dries up, and it meant I hadn't been out racing. But I'd always been actively involved in sim racing, and I saw that there was an advert for drivers to join eTeam BRIT, and on the provision that you know, as a racer you have a disability, and I'm on the autistic spectrum. Back in 2004 I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, and so really motorsport has been my, I guess you could say, coping mechanism. It's kind of given me confidence to sort of integrate more into society. And from that, I joined the team back in, I think it was about August time, and have been with the team since, really, and recently taking over as team manager.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to hear everyone's story, because everyone's story is always individual. It's always unique, and you know, with the band of drivers that we have, both in the ranks of both Team BRIT and also eTeam BRIT, it's really such an inspiration. I've known Dave since the very early formations of Team BRIT. I mean, I was their press officer back in 2016 when we had Mark Allen, Martin Compton, and even we have to give this name a shout out, a GT3 racer in his own right with Walkenhorst Motorsport, David Pittard, and we tackled the 24 hours touring car endurance series powered by Hankook, like inaugural event at Silverstone. And it was just by the fact that I've got links with the military, but also the fact that I was really intrigued with the story and seeing what Dave has been able to do, and to now for it to encapsulate both. So at least, you know, we've had the likes of Luke Pound, who's been, you know, who's joined us recently as a Team BRIT rookie. You know, he placed second at the Hungaroring and third at Silverstone. So it goes to show that the transition isn't as far apart as many people think with the realism of these games so much these days, Max.
Absolutely, and I think the great thing about motorsport is you don't need to have a separate playing field. You know, we just make the adaptations for the individual driver. So, for example, with our new hand control system that we've been developing, that will allow sim racers to tailor the system as they like, so that they can use the paddles on the back of the wheel for their throttle and brake, as well as their gear up and down. Mm-hmm. But as you and I know, not every disability is the same, so you might need to make provisions. So you might prefer it that you have your gear selection all on one side of the wheel. And what it does is it means that disabled drivers can race on a completely level playing field. I mean, if you look back at some of the races we've done previously, even some of my teammates, you know, where they're using the hand control system, they're quicker than me as an able-bodied person. So I think, you know, we are demonstrating that, you know, the disability is no barrier to being a competitive driver in sim endurance racing.
Well, as I think we've had a bit of a moment. Sorry to cut across you there, but Riley Phillips, who was set at the top of the times, actually went spinning off in the Porsche just a few minutes ago. So he's reset back in the pit lane. Bit of a nasty scare there for Riley, but obviously everyone has different sim equipment. I know for a fact, I know what John Monroe is running. It's because he's one of our late entrants. He's basically got His steering wheel's stuck on the desk, pedals underneath, and he's got the screen in front of him. What is your setup at home for your sim racing endeavours with eTeam BRIT?
Well, mine started off not too dissimilar to that, but over the years it has changed. So I race. I've got a AccuForce Sim Experience AccuForce V2 Pro wheel, which I've also got connected up to a set of Fanatic Club Sport V3 pedals. I've also got the shifter as well, but don't tend to use that as much. It's more the pedals on the back. And then I will either race in triple monitors, or as I am in this race, I'll be racing in my Oculus Rift.
So you're going a bit virtual reality on us. You want that full immersion. And
Yeah.
I know for a fact. I know for a fact that Oculus Rift and other headsets that it takes a bit of patience, but also motion sickness does come a bit to the fore when you initially start to use that, rather than sort of having, you know, a curved screen, which is a lot of what we're seeing nowadays as well. Not just the 3 screens, but I think a lot of people are going to the curved screen as well for that full immersive experience. But then some people like yourself and, of course, the likes of Jimmy Broadbent who use their VR headsets to great interest, and it really gives a different dynamic to it as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started using my my VR headset, I couldn't do more than 20 minutes without it feeling itchy and uncomfortable. But over time, you know, you do get used to using it. And now, I mean, I think the most I've done was when I did a race. Funny enough, I think it was at Suzuka, where I did 3 hours 45 minutes in the headset. So as I say, you get used to it very quickly, and it does. I think, you know, having that better perception of what's in front of you, because now everything's 3D rather than a flat screen. It gives you a better, makes you position the car better. So I do think in a way it can make you faster. But as you say, different drivers prefer different things. I can see the appeal of the ultra wide, you know, having the bezel-less screen to give you a good view of what's around you. But yeah, I think, as I say, it's different preferences for different drivers.
No, that's really, really good. Now, I understand, Max, that we talked briefly before coming on air that eTeam BRIT is looking for new recruits to sort of help push the esports side of the brand even further, and to get people involved in esports, because what I mean, I was one of these people. I wasn't like, you know, esports was kind of on my radar, but sort of a bit off screen, if you will. But now, with the current situation, it's completely changed. You know, there are real life commentators like myself, John Hindhaugh, Ben Constanduris. You know, we've got Lee Diffie, Jack Nichols. They're all doing esports commentary, and then you look at people who actually started in that. One of those people is actually Jack Nichols. You know, that's how he started, as a sim racing commentator. Now he's doing Formula E with, you know, multi-time successful IndyCar champion Dario Franchitti. I mean, it's quite funny how esports has now become that sort of the filler of the void, and provided an opportunity for anyone, because it's a lot more, you know, let's be completely honest, you can spend thousands and thousands of pounds on sims, right?
You can, yeah, if you really wanted to go there.
But it's more of an inexpensive route of trying to get onto the motorsport ladder. You know, karting is seen in one of those, but esports now is really gaining prominence. You know, you've got the Le Mans Esports Series, you know, which is really doing well at the moment. All the championships are trying to go back to going to esports now. I mean, but just sort of like, what are you looking for in drivers in particular to join the ranks of eTeam BRIT?
For me, it's not performance led. What I'm looking for is drivers that are committed to the cause, who are going to work well in a team, because when you take something like the iRacing Le Mans 24-hour, you're not going to start practicing on the Friday before and expect to be able to do 2-hour plus stints in the car and be prepared for that. So working in a team is vital, but you know, we want drivers who are going to be who are prepared to push themselves. And at one point we had a driver with us who had never left his house for a whole day in 10 years, and he was out racing with us at the Simply Raced endurance series in Milton Keynes. So for me, I've got a couple of rookies in the team, but I have experienced drivers as well, and they are pushing those drivers to gain experience. And yeah, really, we just want a good bunch of people working hard to be quick in the car, but demonstrate that yes, we are a team of disabled drivers, but just because we're disabled doesn't mean we're not quick. And to help promote the sponsors and to be seen, and we'll be at events up and down the country and around Europe, hopefully in the future. So yeah, that's really what I'm looking for, is somebody who's prepared to give it a go. My only stipulation is you've got to have a disability. And if you have, and you want to get involved, they can get in contact with the team, and we'll help them get set up and integrated within the team, so that they can join us to go racing.
I think you say about performance is not a big caveat, but I think in some respects, I think having someone that can provide consistent lap times, be like we say with the 24-hour race, as Ollie Pearce has gone very wide in the Huracan. Oh, and he's the barriers.
Yeah, I don't want that. That's what I don't want.
No, that's a clear example of what we don't want.
Yeah.
Sorry, these things do happen. They're pushing the limits of adhesion, and he was coming through 130R, heading towards the Canzio Triangle, and he got it through 130R, but then I think he just had a bit of an issue coming out of the second part of the. Oh no, he went very wide. It actually 130R set him off, and he came off at the exit of the corner, probably doing at least 200k. Smacks the wall. As we've got, we just had another spinner as well. That looked to be one of the Porsches. I think that was Riley Phillips.
Turn one is really tricky here. If you get that, if you carry too much speed in, the back end will just spin you round.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, when I say performance, I'm not looking for the absolute fastest driver who's going to be very hot-headed and potentially throwing the wall. What I want, as you say, I want drivers who are going to be able to sit in that car for 2 hours and put in good consistent performances. You find when you're driving within a team, your approach becomes very different. You're not all of a sudden, you're not gonna go for that very small gap down the inside into a hairpin, because you might break the car. Because you're conscious it's not just your race you're running, but your whole team. So that's why I say I really want team players to join us, because we are a team. We are not a bunch of individuals. And as I say, we've got drivers who are new to the team, and already we're nurturing them, and we're getting them up to speed. And now the team are going into their first race together, and they're all within a second of one another. Which is, when we started, I think the gap was about 8 seconds. So, and that's just by working together.
Yeah, that's very true, because as they say, there's no I in team. However, there is a me. But that's just through being pedantic about letters. Max, thank you very, very much for your time. We're coming to the end of free practice, 30 minutes in total. We'll get on to qualifying very, very shortly. So, Max, I'll leave you to it. Crack on, my friend, and all the very best of luck for this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Right, so very, very shortly we will be going on a hot lap, and it is with Texaco Valvoline ambassador Freddie Hunt, who is running in the Team BRIT Aston Martin as Alex Toth-Jones goes off the track there. So we have a big thank you to everyone that has jumped on board, especially Simply Race, Texaco as well. But very shortly we will be going on board for a lap from yesterday with Freddie Hunt, and we have nicknamed it something very special indeed. We've called it the Valvoline Hot Lap here at Suzuka. So we're coming into it. So
let's go on board for the Valvoline Hot Lap with Freddie Hunt in the venerable Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT3, heading towards first and second curve at around 250 kilometres an hour in around about 6th gear before hitting the brakes at the 100-metre mark. Now into first and second curve. Entering the first part of it at 155 kilometres per hour before dropping down to third and around 110 kph. Now here's the combination of turns at S-Curve, Gyakubank, and heading out towards Dunlop, where you've really got to be smooth and linear on the power delivery, carry the momentum through the corners anywhere between second to third gear, between 110 to 150 kilometres an hour, as Freddie now wrestles with the back end of the Aston Martin coming through Dunlop. And he's getting up to as high as around about 210 kilometres an hour before hitting the apex of Degner 1 in third gear at 160 kph. Now down into what was second through Degner 2 as he now makes his way towards turns 10 and now the hairpin at 11, and drops all the way down through to first gear, probably not as much as even 65 kilometres per hour. He now explodes out of the corner, pushing the throttle down as hard as he can through 200R under the Suzuka circuit sign there, pulling gears up to what is around 5th gear, 230 before putting on the anchors. Now into Spoon Curve, the first part of it around 130 kph in second gear, and then drops all the way down to 110 clicks before putting on the power. Now under the Panasonic and Dunlop gantries before we head to the iconic 130R. He's accelerating, building speed, building commitment and momentum. 6th gear. 249 on the clock before he goes in and makes the turn and drops it down a gear to 215 kph. Now we go into the Casio Triangle, turns 16, 17 and 18. An iconic moment in motorsport happened here when Senna and Prost came together, but now Hunt is on the final corner, wrestling with the back end again, trying to go across the start finish line, and that is your Hauberlin Hot Lap here at Suzuka.
So there we go, one lap of Suzuka International Circuit, as we very shortly will be getting underway with qualifying here for the Texaco Round 5 of the eTeam BRIT Summer Series. We have a further 3 more venues after this. We'll next be heading to Autodromo Nazionale Monza in a week's time on May the 8th. May the 15th, we head to the Eifel region to the formidable Nordschleife. Well, not the Nordschleife, it will be the sister circuit to it, the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit itself. So, and then the season finale, we head stateside to the United States as qualifying now gets underway. 30 minutes. We are going to decide who will be on the Kausha pole position spots for round 5 of the season. As we have quite a few drivers. I think I count 27. Matty Streets better be careful of sausage curbs like he had at Silverstone a week ago. I saw a very, very funny video about that. So some of the drivers now already out on the circuit to get the optimum track position. As you can see, some of the drivers, including Riley Phillips, are going through the likes of S-Curve, Gyaku Bend, and now through the left-hander at turn 7 for Dunlop. They're going to accelerate, so Riley's up into 4th. Is he going to pull 5th gear here? Yes, he does. 220 kilometres an hour before going into the right, and he actually was quite quick through Degner 1 as the car in front actually went off one of the Audis. Just wondering if that might have been Dave Hedges that might have gone off there. He's the other driver's Audi here this weekend, so... and looks like we've got Mr. Hobbs, Anthony Hobbs in the Audi R8 LMS. So that might have been Anthony that's gone off instead. So you can just see some of the drivers really. So we've got Riley Phillips going through Spoon Curve in the fantastic black, white and red liveried Porsche 911 GT3 991. And it's the 2019 version, so pretty much up to current spec. He's going to throw it through 130R as we speak. Let's see what the commitment's like from Mr. Phillips. He goes to the right-hand side of the track, slight jink to the left, and he nails the curbs there. That was, we got a bit of a tank slapper from the rear end coming through the exit of 130R, but neatly held there. So as Anthony Hobbs goes, that's a little bit wide. I think he's taking the outside going through Spoon Curve. And he fluorescent yellow Audi. So let's see how the times will stack up. So Phillips currently 4th in qualifying. We've got 27.5 minutes to go. We've also got former UK Clio Cup driver Max Coates joining us this week. So good to have him back on the fold. We've got Bobby Trundley, Darren S. Cook from Scruffy Bear Pictures in the bright yellow Porsche 911 GT3. So they are. This is the biggest grid we've had this season. 28 drivers. Now, for those that normally know of me, you probably know me from the B&L karting series and also from the Rotax Max Euro Trophy. 28 drivers is going to be quite a lot of GT3 machinery, with most of them having anywhere between a 4-litre twin-turbo V8 to as high as a 6.3-litre naturally aspirated V8. So let's take on the benefit of that. Let's say on average, you're going to have nearly 15,000 horsepower on the grid when we go green for 60 minutes. So some of the drivers really getting into their stride now, as many of them will start to build up the momentum, gain the confidence in terms of what is actually happening. So Darren Cook is on a flyer at the minute. There's still a lot in this session to play. However, he is running P3's the lead Porsche at the moment, ahead of Riley Phillips. So Phillips will need to get a little bit of a wriggle on. And hopefully, well, we've got David Christie, who's the sole BMW. He's down in 22nd position at the moment. A lot of the drivers on their outlaps at the minute. And just by looking at the graphics that are adorning us, a big thank you to Mike Yao and Simply Race for making this happen. They've been within 48 hours. We have now got a multi-stream platform. A big thank you for everyone for tuning in on the multiple platforms that we are using throughout this afternoon. So we'll get racing underway pretty much as soon after 3 o'clock this afternoon. Yeah, I'm also going to give a shout out to Al. Thank you for the nudge, Al. I've got multiple things to concentrate on, as well as the timing, as well as the screens. Al's been instrumental in doing the first 4 weeks and putting the call to Mike, and a big thank you to Al. I hope you're not racing today, because otherwise you might not have your hands on the steering wheel, my friend. But effectively, he's going to be in race control, so I will be informed of any penalties as they happen during the race. So at the moment, we have got, I'm just trying to, just going to wait and see. So we have the number 13 Aston Martin V8 Vantage. That is of Ollie Pearce. Well, I've got the 13 of Martin in, that's Josh Martin, Riley Phillips, Bobby Trundley, John Monroe, who's only had Assetto Corsa for a matter of days, and he's just downloaded the DLC pack, is P4 in the Bentley. That's impressive. David Christie's not that far behind him as well, down in 8th place. Then we've got Ross McGregor, Ben Warren, then we've got Farrow in the number 2 Mercedes, Sandro Ballesteros down in 9th. Then we've also got Max Spooner, who is, I think, is in the Mercedes this time. So we have a severe drop in, and the lap times are 1 minute 59.3 from King. That's over 3/10 quicker than Martin. Phillips a further 3/10 of a second adrift. Trundley on the verge of getting sub 2 minutes, as Edward Hobbs on YouTube on Simply Race says, good luck, Anthony, from Dad. So the times will change as things proceed, as King now goes top, 59.322 in the Mercedes, the number 38. So we've got about 24 minutes or 23 minutes remaining of this qualification session. Local time in Japan is around about 8:30 in the morning, as here's Tobin Lee in the fantastically deep purple McLaren 720S GT3, 4-litre twin turbocharged V8, 6-speed McLaren gearbox, an absolute beaut of a GT3 car. Then we turn to Sandro Ballesteros, currently running P15 in quali. He's got a bit of work to do as the youngster. Normally races in karting and is part of the Race with Autism Brigade, which includes Matty Street. As Sandro runs a bit wide coming out of the... just trying to keep an eye on where that is. That is heading through... that's turns 9, 10 and 11 through hairpin. The slowest corner on the circuit, which is at around about first gear, as Alex Toth-Jones now goes up into P7. Max Coates down in 18th. I'm just keeping my eyes out for Martin Plowman as David Christie runs in P14, 4.3 seconds off of King at the moment, so not a bad shout there at the minute. Jack Ashton is bigging up the Fordzilla crew. They've been making their way through the esports ranks as Martin Plowman now jumps in behind Sandro Ballesteros in 16th. So times are changing all the while. 21.5 minutes left to go to see who will secure our Kasia pole position spot on the grid for the Texaco round 5 of the eTeam BRIT Summer Series. If you want to get involved, if you have a gaming PC, you have Assetto Corsa Competizione and the DLC pack, you will need that for competing in the final round at Laguna Seca in just a few weeks' time, in around 3 weeks' time on May 22nd, as Anthony Hobbs pulls to a stop. Now yellow flags are out, so it's a yellow flag situation there. So what the drivers are able to do is to sort of reset. Here's David Farrow, currently running in P15 in the Mercedes. And there's Luka Peglaj in the 488 GT3. So the prancing horse represented here as David Farrow makes his way down into first and second curve here at Suzuka. So Anthony had come out of what looked to be the Casio triangle. And that meant he had to pull to the right-hand side coming out of the corner. So a lot of drivers definitely thinking of making sure they get their best laps down as possible. We go into into the second third of this 30-minute open qualification session, and it has been quite a battle at the top. So the likes of John Munro, Bobby Trundley, Phillips have been clearly in the mix for this. So we'll find out as David Christie coming through towards 130R. How brazen has he got the gumption? Oh, now that was very, very committed through the first part of 130R. But he ran a bit wide coming out of the corner. So you could just see... Now let's just have a look now as one of the Audis comes up towards 130R. They're going to pull to the right-hand side as best they can, what the Ferrari does. And pulls to the right, pulls to the left. And when we saw the Halverline hot lap a little bit earlier, Freddie, he actually was running at nearly 250 kilometers per hour in top gear and had to drop down to 5th and drop the speed down to around 215 and still...
It's alright, because when I crash at turn 2, I'll be with you.
So we've got one of our onboards. It is Ginetta, UK Clio Cup veteran and Britcar veteran, Mr. Max Coates, who is our head of driver development here at Team BRIT. So we've got an onboard with him at the minute. Looks like he is driving Aston Martin, judging by the circular dial in
Max
his
Coates
peripherals. So yeah, that is the Aston Martin Vantage. So he's now going to... Let's keep it on board with Max for a minute there. But I want to give you people an idea of just how committed, even in sim racing, you have to be through 130R. The drivers really showing that they are going to be ultra competitive. I mean, what racer doesn't want to win? Okay, so thank you very much to our stream director for telling us that is just back. So we will be able to, if we can, give you viewers out there some replays. Obviously, I'll try and do my very best to get apprised of what is going on. A big thank you to Simply Race for doing a fantastic job and broadcasting over multiple platforms. So we are getting towards the halfway point of the battle for the Kershaw pole position. Top spot on the grid out of 27 drivers, and it looks to be very, very intriguing indeed. So we can just see that quite a few drivers are they're getting used to things now, as what the BMW of David Christie enters the pit lane. So we'll see how that keeps on keeps going. So it's not an easy track as Suzuka, as we've got someone off now. Is that Alex Toth-Jones that went off at Spoon Curve? Might have been the case. That distinctive new livery for our Motorsport, which they recently unveiled. As we've got one of the drivers here, Dave Hedges, in the Audi R8. Now we're having another look at the times. Times are getting quicker still. To be honest with you, we've got we've got 3 drivers sub 2 minutes around here at Suzuka, and that's not easy. It's not easy. So we've got King, Martin, Phillips, Cassim, Hedges, Trundley, Monroe, Toth-Jones, McGregor, and Warren, and they are separated by 2 seconds. So that is Darren King in the Mercedes, number 38. Then it's Josh Martin in the Aston, so the best of the Aston drivers so far. Riley Phillips, the lead Porsche in the in this particular battle with Darren Cook. Not a bad shout. He's done a 2:05.973, the official Team BRIT videographer, as we now are about halfway through this session. And the entire grid from 1st to 20, there are 27 cars, separated by 6.8 seconds. So Ross McGregor running one of the the Bentley Team M Sport colours. Nice bit of British when someone runs a Bentley. And that is the 2018 derivative. So in many respects, this is how close it is at the top of it all. We've got 0.729 of a seconds between King, Martin and Phillips. That's your battle for the Kershaw Pole Position Award here. Now, for those wondering, what do the drivers win if they win the race? Well, they get a very fetching eTeam BRIT t-shirt, which I'm actually wearing at the moment, is rather comfortable. A big thank you to Max for sending one my way. So, still, Martin Plowman, as David Farrow goes off the track, and that is the first part of S-curve, turn 3. So yellow flags briefly waved there. There's Bobby Trundley making his way through turn 11. And he is currently running P6, so he is the second best of the Audis behind Hedges. As Tobin Lee now comes through turn 11 in the McLaren. And at the minute, I'm just having a look. So from Cassim, that's Rashid Cassim in the number 15 Aston. As David Farrow, like I say, I'm just keeping an eye at turn 3. Alex Toth-Jones in the Aston P8 at the moment, 1.6 off of the fastest time at the minute. So now Darren King has put in a 1 minute 59.235 with session to go. Darren King, part of the Team Fordzilla crew. Hope they're all keeping well. I know that they're all busy with the Le Mans Esports Championship that has recently had its conclusion in terms of a great competition there. There's Tobin Lee about to cross the stripe once more. With around 12 minutes 38 on the clock to go, and that puts him P8. That's a 2 minutes .831. Puts him ahead of Alex Toth-Jones in the Aston Martin. McGregor in the Bentley rounds out the top 10. And they're separated by 1.7 seconds. So I think your cheer on YouTube, Jack Ashton, has been heard. Had a brief yellow there with about 12 minutes and 15 seconds to go as Rashid Kassim goes through into first and second curve here at Suzuka. Now into the S curve, so you'll have turn 3, now turn 4. Look how much minimum momentum is being used by Rashid here through Gyaku Bank on this particular occasion. There's Matty Streets, the infamous sausage curb jumper. He's currently 22nd in the 762 Aston, it looks like. And he's about 5 or so seconds off the pace. Yeah, 5.7 seconds. As Freddie Hunt rounds out the top 16. Freddie's doing a great job. This is his first race. His debut in the eTeam BRIT Summer Series Round 5, presented by Texaco. Funnily enough, he's running under the Team BRIT mantra. Well done. Good to see Freddie with us. He's an accomplished racer in his own right. He's raced quite a few different categories, if memory serves me correctly. He's the son of the man who took the 1975 Formula One world title with McLaren against Niki Lauda, the late James Hunt. And by goodness, we do miss that man. A great character, a great racer, and good to see that Freddie is keeping the racing heritage and the Hunt family well and truly alive. One of the many Texaco Hauvelin ambassadors. So it's getting a bit feisty at the top 20 as Spooner in the number 64 Mercedes is only 4.5 seconds off of provisional pole position. So we get into the dying stages as Freddie now is going to go committed into 130R under the Panasonic and Dunlop gantries. Here comes the number 1 Aston Martin Vantage. Let's see. Now that was clean. Nicely committed. Nicely committed from Freddie there. Really, really been good to see his opportunity. So we're coming into the last third of the 30-minute qualification session at the Texaco Round 5 of the eTeam BRIT Summer Series. If you want to get involved, head to www.teambrit.co.uk/eraces. If you want to get involved for the last 3 rounds of the season. Just having a look back over the results, Martin Plowman was the first of 4 different winners through the Summer Series. It was meant to be a weekly social, Al Locke tells me. Our race control, our man in race control, he said that this was meant to be just a weekly social. And with the COVID-19 pandemic, that has taken on a completely different narrative altogether. Alex Toth-Jones took round 2 at Spa-Francorchamps ahead of Andy Tucker and Martin Plowman, who was first on the road but got a 130-second penalty for a short stop. Before this round, the stops were 50 seconds, a mandatory 50 seconds. So in round 3, Ben Warren was our third winner from 3 different races, with Luke Pound, the newest rookie, as we now go and check out Matty Street heading down into the first and second curve here at Suzuka. 8 minutes and 30 on the clock. King still leads the way ahead of Martin, Kassim, Phillips, Hedges, Trundley, Monroe, Tobin Lee, Alex Toth-Jones and McGregor in the Bentley, separated by 1.77 seconds. So Martin Plowman was third behind Luke Pound. And then Bobby Trundley took the win at Silverstone ahead of Plowman and Pound again. So 4 different winners from 4 different races. Could it be 5 from 5 here at Suzuka? Luke Pound in the 99 Aston Martin Very reminiscent of the GT8 road car with a little bit of those accents as he goes a bit wide, allowing, well, I think it was probably just overstepped the mark a little bit there and ended up going to the 911 Porsche, came through. So now here's Ben Warren in the 87 Mercedes AMG GT3 from 2015. Here he goes, flying up the hill, under the gantries, down into 130R. Let's see how well he keeps this planted. Turns it in, neat and tidy, and keeps it absolutely shipshape and Bristol fashion. And if you can get it right through 130R, that does cement a good part of your lap here. But you've got to get the whole package together. You've got to get the setup right. And especially in esports, you've got to have your steering inputs and everything else all well and truly sorted. So let's see if Warren improves. He does. P8. Great job there. Great job there by Ben Warren in the Mercedes. Up from P12 to P8. So great job. That just really cemented him there. So now we've got a drive-through penalty for Matt Oates in the Aston Martin. That's a real shame for in the 65. So we'll about 0.2 of a second thereof. So still could be up for grand. Oh, now, thank you very much to Race Control for telling me that Max had a drive-through for an unsafe rejoin back onto the circuit. Echoes of, where was it? Monza, Sebastian Vettel, and then Lawrence, and then Lawrence Stroll. Lance Stroll, sorry. Lawrence is his dad, what am I saying? So we go into the final sixth of the battle for the Kershaw pole position here at the Texaco Round 5 here at Suzuka for the eTeam BRIT Summer Series. There's Anthony Hobbs from Hobbs Racing, the number 6 Audi. Audi dropping a big shell. They will exit the DTM as of the end of this season. So we're getting a bit of good to see that there's some people watching on YouTube. So I think Max wasn't really wanting that, was he? Didn't really. So we're coming into the last 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And hopefully we'll try and get a word with some of our drivers. I do want to have a chat with a couple of people post-qualifying. We'll make sure that these are pretty quickly indeed. So still at the minute, Hobbs down about 6.1 seconds. Provisional pole sitter Darren King doing an absolutely fantastic job in the Mercedes. And the top 20 separated by 4.4. Here's Freddie once again. Yeah, he's just come out of 130R into the cancellation. So he's on an out lap at the minute, judging by Race Logic timer on the right-hand side of the rear view camera that he's got in the car. So now we'll be on a flyer. He'll probably have a in what's going on there. Sorry about that. With the wonders of modern. My apologies for that. A bit of silence there. So we're just on board with Freddie. Yeah, Max is the only one that's had a drive-through in this qualification session. We're fast approaching the end of it. 2.5 minutes to go before we go green for 60 minutes here at Suzuka. Now, Freddie drops down all the way down the box into first, out of turn 11. Now through the right-hander at 200R. And for people wondering, why do they call it 200 and 300R? Well, it's dependent on the amount of the angle, so 200 degrees in terms of the way that it slopes. As Freddie goes wide, coming through the first part of Spoon Curve there, but manages to recorrect, going through the second part of it, so that's turns 13 and 14. So we are 2 minutes away from deciding our Kausha pole position winner here for round 5 of the eTeam BRIT Summer Series. 3 more rounds after this, so we head over to Italy, virtually speaking, along with, as Freddie gets a bit crossed up coming through the first part of the Casino Triangle. Yeah, we'll then head to Italy, Germany, and then the USA for our season finale. So Freddie on that particular occasion came in and did a 2-minute 4.6 on that last lap. His best lap so far, a 2-minute 4.03, as every might be. Now, there might be some drivers that will be, if there's a P on the right-hand side of the driver's time, as in the gap, there will be, that means the driver's in the pits. So some drivers now will be trying to get their lap time a lot better, so to speak. So we'll find out very, very soon. As, oh no, off into the barriers. Off into the barriers goes one of the Astons. Just going to try and... the good thing is that I've got a secondary feed running. So we'll just find out who that was. I think that was Max Coates. Let's just see what happens. I think Max was trying to... so Max has come out of the Casino Triangle. One of the Mercedes is on his back bumper coming through the... Max goes to the other side, goes towards the line and gets tagged from the rear. So already a bit of drama. So yellow flags are out. We are literally 6 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is it. Qualifying is completed. So drivers will now have, for those already in the pit, they will have to do their very, very best indeed to try and get things going in many respects. Because these drivers, so Martin Plowman is on a hot minute. He's coming in the Bentley. We've had someone go off. That is off of one of the Deckers, I believe. So Martin Plowman will be able to complete his lap before this session concludes. So very shortly after we find out who is our inaugural Kausha pole position winner, Martin Plowman will start from 19th on the grid. As well, he just decides to decides not to go on the brakes. Now, Tobin Lee. Now let's just have a look at the times at the end of it. So by 0.225 seconds, your Kausha pole position winner for Texaco round of the Team BRIT Summer Series is the number 38 of Darren King in the Mercedes AMG GT3. Then we have Josh Martin rounding out, well, it was only 0.225 adrift. Then we had Rashid Kazim in third, Riley Phillips in fourth. Then we had Dave Hedges, Tobin Lee, John Monroe, Alex Toth-Jones, Bobby Trundley, and Ben Warren rounding out the top 10, separated by just 1.5 seconds. Then it's McGregor and Pecklage, Tucker, Pound, Farrow, Freddie Hunt, David Christie round out the top 17. So a really, really interesting side of things. But very shortly, before we get the racing underway, we're going to head to a couple of Simply Race videos before we go live, I believe. So just to hopefully get things going. Let's go on board for the Hauberlin Hot Lap with Freddie Hunt in the venerable Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT3, heading towards first and second curve at around 250 kilometres an hour in around about 6th gear before hitting the brakes at the 100 metre mark. Now into first and second curve. Entering the first part of it at 155 kilometres per hour before dropping down to third at around 110 kph. Now here's the combination of turns at S-Curve, Gyakubank, and heading out towards Dunlop, where you've really got to be smooth and linear on the power delivery, carry the momentum through the corners anywhere between second to third gear, between 110 to 150 kilometres an hour, as Freddie now wrestles with the back end of the Aston Martin coming through Dunlop, and he's getting up to as high as around about... Right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get things underway here for the Texaco Round 5 Summer Series for eTeam BRIT here at Suzuka International. 1 hour awaits. We are about to go green, and it is such a sight. Nearly 15,000 horsepower set to roar off the start-finish line very, very shortly. And it looks like we're going to go for a 2x2 rolling start formation, I believe, judging by the fact that they are all coming Casio triangle. So the pit stop open window will start 20 minutes after we go green. Some of the drivers... Now, it is going to be a case that they will have to get into formation. Let's see how the start of this race pans out, because it's going to be very, very interesting indeed. So we've not... and for the Bob Mather, yes, it is the one and only. Let's see. Do we go lights out? We go lights out. But we are racing in round 5 here at... So let's see who gets to first curve ahead of everybody else. As Freddie Hunt, I think, trying to keep himself in position around about 16th. Someone runs wide. Looks to be a BMW. That looks to be David Christie, I believe. And we have had several go off the circuit, and one of them is David Christie. So already the action is fast and furious, and we haven't even the end of lap 1. We're going through Gyaku Bend, through into what is now going to be Dunlop. So the drivers will be accelerating to 230 kilometres per hour, and it is side by side for 9th. That's 10th and 11th position, I believe. And one of them is Ross McGregor in the Bentley. So a really, really interesting battle will start. I think not just at one place up and down the field, it's going to be all over the place down here. So Manuel Licata on YouTube goes, go TFC. Obviously that's Taryn King, who I think has got the whole shot. And we are in with around 50. Well, it looks like we've got a brief yellow flag yet again. So if there is an issue as such, what will happen is that we'll have the briefest of yellows flags. There's Freddie Hunt in the number 1 Team BRIT Aston Martin Vantage V8. It's ahead of Spooner. Christie rounds out the top 18. And, oh dear, first drive through of the race, it's handed to Matt Coates in the 65 Aston. That is for causing a collision. So a real shame for Max. So there's Anthony Hobbs up to 19th position in the number 6 fluorescent green or yellow Audi. That's definitely glow in the dark. And he will have Max Coates in the R Motorsports Aston Martin. So Max will have 3 laps to bring it in pit. So he's got to drive through. He's got to serve it. Otherwise, further implications will be shown by race control. So he's got 2 laps. So this and another at the minute. So already the week hasn't been that good as we head to South Jones in the sister R Motorsport Aston Martin, the number 62, currently running in what is now looks to be 10th place. So he's ahead of Ross, or is he behind Ross McGregor at the minute? Yep, the 107 Bentley just up ahead. So at the moment it is still King leading, I believe. We've got quite a lot. So Riley Phillips looks to have gotten up into P3 already. SimSport Racing gives Dave Hedges in the Audi all the very best of luck. Dave is currently running P5 in the minute. Of Rashid Kazim, it looks like, who is running in one of the Astons. And that's the 2019 Aston Martin V8 GT3, producing around 540 brake horsepower. Mated with an X-Track 6-speed sequential transmission operated via the paddle shifts. So there's none of that good old pull your shoulder out of your socket side of thing, as Hedges now heads to 130R. He's running their back bumper, heading into the corner. Now, I hope no one tries to do an Alonso v Schumacher like it was back in the early 2000s in Formula 1, but Hedges kept it nice and clean there. Dave Farrow has also been given a drive-through penalty for causing a collision. So 2 drivers already penalised, and we are less than 5 minutes in. So here's Darren King. He's got a pretty handsome lead, has the Mercedes at the moment. There's Freddie Hunt, who's now dropped down in the number 1 Aston Martin, down to P21 at the moment. But let's see if he is able to recover. There is still plenty of this race left to go. So Farrow is ahead of Hunt at the minute, but has served his drive. He's serving his drive-through at the moment. So Farrow drops down the order. Max Coates drops down the order, 21st and 22nd respectively. There's Farrow now. There is Max Coates just behind. They've got to observe the speed limit in the pit lane. If they don't do that, what's going to happen? They're going to get another penalty, as we're on board with the rear wing of Rashid Kazim in the number 15 Aston Martin. But Hedges is looking really, really, really menacing on the number 13 the number 15 Aston Martin. And coming into this fight is John Munro in the Bentley, the Scottish Motor Racing Club PC Esports champion, crowned last week, has only been on Assetto Corsa for a couple of hours, and he's fighting at the front of the field. What an impressive display from the Glasgow-based driver. Good to catch up with him. Not too far behind him is one of the regulars in Team BRIT, Bobby Trundley, in the number 23 Audi. So he's switched as Hedges goes up the inside of Kazim. Close. Kazim runs wide, but I think Hedges just got the move. He's got around the outside of him, through into the Casio chicane. Change for P4, but Kazim not giving up. Here comes Moreau, and he's going to try and slingshot past. Now he's got alongside Kazim. That could give him 5th place. Now he's in the tow of Hedges. Down the start-finish straights. Here we go. The battle for 4th is clearly on, with around 54 minutes still to go. And, oh, that's brilliant work from John Munro round the outside of Kazim through first curve. But he loses it a little bit. He loses a bit of... Hedges runs wide. Trundley now is with them. This is an incredible scrap. Now we go in through to S curve as Munro runs wide. Kazim takes the place, and Bobby Trundley puts it around the outside of the Bentley. Nice work by the 23 to get the job done. Oh my goodness, this is the start of things to come. The biggest grid, 27 cars in total, and everyone is absolutely giving it everything. No quarter given, We've had 2 drive-throughs already, but I think that is the start of things to come. So in many respects, there's going to be a lot of action, as I don't think Bobby Trunley's out of the woods quite yet. No, Monroe still on the back bumper, and here comes Tobin Lee in the McLaren. So what was a battle between Hedges, Kazim and Monroe fast has become a bit of a mid top 10 explosion in many respects. Obviously, for those wondering about slipstreaming, it depends on a couple of things. The balance of performance, because you have to take that into account with what's been going on. There's also going to be the Vasaro fastest lap, so the fastest driver out of this race, the fastest lap secured, will get the inaugural Vasaro fastest lap of the race award, and then we'll have the Simply Race podium at the end, where we'll talk to the top 3 and maybe get some other drivers to talk to us, as we'll also have the DAF driver of the day. So many new developments in the eTeam BRIT Summer Series, and I hope our boss Dave Player is watching. I hope you're enjoying it, Dave, because it's absolutely mesmerising. Josh Martin is coming into the clutches of Riley, the Fun Cup racer, in the 911 Porsche. Phillips has been on a bit of a mission here. So there's quite a few drivers. Now, the latest entrant was David Christie. He literally signed up about half an hour before I think we even started racing, as Martin and Phillips definitely going into battle stations here. It's definitely DEFCON 5 between the pair of them as they come through towards Degner 1, now into Degner 2, and many people might remember the Degner curves. I don't think Heikki Kovalainen remembers them quite well when he went off into the barriers, as Phillips is going to go up the inside of Martin through 200R. Has he made the move? Let's see. Kim comes through. No. Oh, that was good work from Josh Martin. He kept it defensive, but Phillips is still not letting go at all. He's going through so coming into turns 10 and 11. So they come through, and it's really interesting how Phillips has just been... he's only down now. Thank you for TechnoSpot on YouTube pointing this out. Riley Phillips only downloaded the program an hour ago before. And that's incredible. That is incredible. But it just shows, as again, you know, it's just now here we are on board chase cam style on John number 8 Bentley, P7 behind Bobby Trundley after that great battle between Monroe, Hedges, Kazim and Trundley, which saw Monroe be the driver that unfortunately didn't really have much of a chance to answer, as he ran wide a bit earlier on. So very, very soon we're getting into... so we've now had 10 minutes elapsed on the clock, so another 10 will elapse until the pit stop window opens. So every single driver will have to have a mandatory 30-second pit stop. Tyres will be changed, and it is a regulation. If you have a shorter pit stop, you can be penalised, as Martin Plowman found out on round 2 at Spa-Francorchamps on the 10th of April. But going through S-Curve, Gyaku Bend, heading towards Dunlop, past the famous Ferris wheel on the right-hand side of the circuit, if you're looking at it from a driver's perspective. So at the moment, the current running order is as King. Mercedes leads in the 911 Porsche. Josh Martin in the Dave Hedges in the 88 Audi R8 LMS. And it's Rashid Kazim in the 15 Aston Martin, Bobby Trunley in the 23 Audi, who is coming under fire again, this time from John Monroe through what looks to be the hairpin at turn number 11 as they go through the right-hander at 200R. Ross McGregor and Alex Toth-Jones complete the top 10. Then it's Tucker, Pound, Spooner, Lyman, Christie, Ballesteros. Matty Street gets passed by Begludge in the Sol Ferrari 488 GT3 in 17th in the number 84. Hobbs, Plowman down in 20th. Ben Warren in 21st, Max Coates. And then you've also got Josh Spencer. That's the top 23 positions at the minute. And here's Bobby Trundley. Great on board on the official Team BRIT. Going around Brands Hatch from a few weeks ago. Just getting a little bit of a message here from, looks like possibly race control. So, okay, very shortly we'll be having on board the as we see Bobby Trundley go through first and second curve here in that fantastically turquoise blue. I think that's another car that could glow in the dark if you gave it an opportunity. A bit like the hands and Luminosa on a watch like the one I'm wearing at the moment. So Bobby Trundley still running in 6th position. So lead between Darren King and Riley Phillips. 2.1 seconds, I believe. Well, actually, it's around about... we're on to lap number 7, so he's 7.5. Let's go on board. This Smith in the McLaren. So we're going to go on board with him for a little bit into first and second curve. Down into third gear, 125 kph coming out as he goes through S curve. So he's picking up the speed here. And he's round about third gear, 160 kph, and he's having to, it's throttle modulation, a little bit of brake dabbing as well in the process. So his tyres running a little bit more, wearing a bit more at the front by the tyre data. So he's going to exit out of onto, now he's going to pull the gears now for 200 kph. Does he pull 5th now? Not before Degner 1, and he puts in at 4th at 160. So he's 45 seconds through the lap. Second gear, 115 through Degner 2. Now we head towards, so he's going to pull 4th gear. 200 Ks nearly going into, and this is the slowest corner, turn 11. Now he's going to put the power down at second. Third gear, redlining around about 7,300 RPM there. 200R. 5th gear. So it's a 6-speed box. He nearly hits he goes 233 on the speedometer before going into that corner. Wow, into Spoon curve. So turn 13, he's pulling, now we're going to see what 130R looks like. Let's just have a look from this perspective. It's going to start pulling towards the right-hand side of the circuit as he goes under the Dunlop gantry. 5th gear. Let's see if he pulls 6th. He doesn't. 252 kph on the speedometer as he goes through 130R at nearly 230 kph. Absolute brazen commitment. I think as the Mexicans say, he has the cojones. That was very true. We're going to have a pretty quick lap here as well. A 1 minute 57. Let's see. It's going to be just over 2 minutes, but that's a pretty rapid lap to be on board with. That was a 2 minute 2. 2 minute 2. 0.52 from him. That's brilliant. That's a brilliant job there from Tobin Lee behind the wheel of the looks to be the sole McLaren in this field. So that's a really, really good job. Now we're back on who's being chased and hounded by the 88 of Dave Hedges. So Hedges losing a bit of ground there, coming through Spoon curve. Seems like the Team Fordzilla crew is out in 4 minutes. Geo_F1 saying Team Fordzilla, team on the place. Come on, Dale, let's win this. Thank you very much for those that have also given us a thumbs up on the respective streams that we're running on Twitch, running on Facebook. And we're also running on YouTube. So Martin, still running in 3rd place. 43 minutes and 38 seconds remaining in this in Texaco round 5 of the eTeam Summer Series here at Suzuka. Go back on board with Josh Monroe from the chase cam perspective as he closes up on Bobby Trundley. Another fantastic shade of British racing green, wouldn't you agree? The number 8 Bentley. And actually the oldest car that is used on this platform is the Mercedes. And the Mercedes is absolutely romping away with it. Darren King in 38. Absolutely brilliant job. Here's John Munro in the cockpit, well, virtually speaking. But that's a really, really good job from him. Grant Lyman battling away in the 240 Aston, and hot on his heels, his fellow Comet. Oh, David Christie! David Christie got a bit feisty coming through Gyaku Bend and nearly lost the back end of the M6. That's a brilliant little battle, but Christie's trying to recompose himself. He said, I think we've been talking on Facebook quite recently, and he said to me, I've got blisters on my thumbs. You can see why, because he's putting absolutely everything into it. Absolutely everything into it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that to our stream director. Yep, Grant does work at Regulars. So Grant Lyman with Sebastian Kettle Racing. The team puns are going to start coming out now, aren't they? 14th place, so a member of Simply Race with the... well, of course, they use Thrustmaster equipment at Simply. I've been there quite a few times before. Really good place there at Simply. They're doing their absolute best. Obviously, their office is closed whilst COVID-19 is currently ongoing, but for Mike being able to assist us with broadcasting this all the way through the day. 40, so we're a minute and a half from the pit stop window. Oh, drive through now. This time it's for Dave Hedges. Hedges has had a drive-through issued for contact. So Dave Hedges running at the sharp end of the field. That is going to change things a little bit, I believe. So Hedges now down into P7. That means John Munro has got past Bobby Trundley. No, actually the boot's on the other foot there. But Josh Martin. So was there a coming together between third and fourth place? Because now that means that Riley Phillips is still behind Darren King. So here we are on board with John Munro. Second gear through what was Degner 2. So he's fifth place behind Bobby Trundley. So Trundley's now got back past the Scot. So Bobby Trundley's best lap of the race so far, a 2:01. And his last lap around, obviously battling with Munro, was a 2:05. So Hedges has been issued a drive-through for contact. So that is a real shame for him. But in many respects, we have still plenty of this race to go. Okay, now, here's where the twist in the tale gets ever more convoluted than a James Bond spy movie. The pit stop window, I believe, is now open. Timer has started counting away. 19 minutes and 53 seconds. So this will depend on how the drivers have set up their cars. But also, this is a mandatory requirement of the eTeam BRIT Summer Series. If you want to get involved, please head to teambrit.co.uk/e-races. So local time in Japan will be 9:23 in the morning. So brilliant sunshine for the duration of the race. Here's Andy Tucker in the 68 Aston Martin. And it's got Luke Pound, I believe, just behind. Or is it? No, I think that is the case in the old spec. As Tobin Lee is having a battle with Ross McGregor, who goes round the side of S-curve. Great move there by Ross McGregor. Saw the gap and took it. I think, as the late Ayrton Senna da Silva would say, if you don't go for a gap, you're not a racing driver. Well, Ross McGregor saw that gap and quite clearly went for it. Nice job. Freddie having a bit of a character-building race. He's ahead of Farrow, I believe, in the Mercedes. Darren Cook down in 26th position. Well, Freddie is currently 23rd at the minute. As still King leading now on to lap number 11 of this race. Good job so far. There's been some great entertaining battles. Now, Bobby Trundley looks to have got the wind beneath his rear wing, and he's closing in on Kazim in the number 15 Aston Martin for P3. So I haven't seen anyone I think I'm just seeing, has anyone pitted? Or I think Matty with them. Daniels has pitted as well in the number 9. So that looks to be the case. Had quite a few drivers. So some might leave it right until a key point, because look at it from this perspective. If Kazim decides Bobby Trunley pits, he releases John Munro and Munro on Martin, and so on and so forth. So it's really down to... So we've had Matty Street and Will Daniels in the pits already. So in many respects, those are the first two that have decided to bite the bullet early and get in with trying to maybe go and do the long haul, the graveyard shift, if you put it, under the sunshine. So here's Freddie Hunt, and he's got Farrow alongside him, going into 130R. Now Farrow will slot in front of the Aston driver and go through 130R. Both of them keep that nice and clean. Freddie gets a bit of a better exit and sends it up the inside into the casino triangle, and misses the braking point and knocks over one of the cones, jumps over the gravel and the grass, and Darren Cook's had a spinner off of the final corner. So the man from Scruffy Bear Pictures having a massive tank slapper. Now in many respects, blue flags, it depends on the software. We've had another pitter, and that is Hedges. Hedges in the 88 has pitted. So Hedges has pitted from the... we've had another drive-through. Freddie Hunt has been has managed to get out of trouble, but Martin Plowman's had a drive-through for contact. So, which I think he has, he has got 3 laps. So, drive-through will be 3 laps to serve that penalty. As the battle between Kazim Trundley and thank you very much, Matty Streets. He's just messaged me. Thank you for your honesty, Matty. Ran out of fuel before the pit window. He opened pit of fuel, but he still didn't put enough fuel in. Rookie move. Okay, thanks, Matty. Now, obviously, RP Racing on YouTube asking about blue flag leaders coming through and having issues. Well, the software should be quite intrinsic. So Hedges actually dropped all the way down to what was, I think, P20. So we've got just over 15 minutes. 15 minutes to the pit stop window being open, still remaining, as John Munro will have, I think that might be, that is another Aston Martin just up ahead. So John Munro having to go past back marker traffic, trying to catch up with Bobby Trunley, so he makes it through. I think Josh Martin is right on his back bumper as well in the 13. And Martin is going to try something here. He's going to be brave. He's going to try and go through. He might get the switchback coming out of the hairpin, which looks to get a better exit than John. And now let's not forget that the Bentley Continental GT3 is a bit of a heavy beast. A very heavy beast indeed, as Kazim is keeping Trundley at bay. They're about half a second apart at the moment. So John Munro still battling away with Josh Martin for what is 5th on the road. So please feel free to get involved via the relevant streams that are on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. Please let us know who your DAF driver of the day is. We'll close that all up before... we'll close that up 5 minutes before the end of this race. So with 5 minutes on the clock to go, we will keep an eye on seeing how many of you have decided to keep things going, as the racing is definitely unbridled and uninterrupted. Got about 33 minutes of this race remaining, and still Darren King leading the way. leading the way, doing an absolutely brilliant job so far. And in many respects, people will think that it's easy. So in many respects, we're going to have a lot of people wondering who is... there we go. Thank you, Simply Race. Blue flags in the sim should be your... Hello, Melin 030363 from Germany. So we'll see how things proceed amongst the 30 or so minutes. 32 minutes and 20 seconds still left to go. Still plenty of this race remaining. So I hate to think that was a very rapid side of things for. I hope that Matty learns from his mistakes, and next time, I hope you've put enough fuel in it this time, buddy, because this time around it's going to be very interesting how the drivers now, as Kazim is coming under fire from Trundle. Now that was heading into 130R. As Trundley is going towards the outside in the approach to the Casio Triangle, trying to get the switch back into T16. And a bit more curve taken by Bobby Trundley on that particular occasion. So in many respects, this is the battle that we really need to keep an eye on. And Matty now is typing. I don't know, have you got one hand on the wheel? You shouldn't be messaging whilst driving, Matty. Bless him. Oh, it's happened in the last race two. Last 3 corners before the end. Well, actually, he said he's definitely not learned his lesson. I'm just going to... let's see if we can get him into the... let's see. So the last race at Silverstone where you jumped the sausage curb. You ran out of fuel there as well. Okay. I'm just going to see if we can get Matty in. So we're nearly halfway through. Sandro Ballesteros GT3, currently running now in what is effectively, I think, P8. Here's Freddie Hunt, down in 22nd at the moment. I think we'll speak to some drivers after the race. So it's quite difficult because these drivers are trying to concentrate on such a technical circuit as Suzuka. There's David Farrow, and I think that might be one of the. I'm just keeping my eyes on things at the minute. Yeah, making their way through back marker traffic. So okay. Let's just see. See if I can invite. I'm going to try and do something. This is quite unusual for me. Through the let's just see. In many respects, I'm going to try and keep my eyes going. Now we've got Ross McGregor in the, and that's Riley Phillips trying to go up the inside of the Bentley. Through into 130R. That's the battle for P9. Wisely done by Riley Phillips to sort of back out of it, because he could have gone up through. Could have come off second best there. as we see a lot more people making their way through into there as such. So there's Ross McGregor in the number 107 Bentley. So I'm just wondering, has John Munro, now I see a little red box by the side of him, and I think, is that a time penalty that's been issued? Not too sure, but I'm sure that I'll be informed in due course. So we've had several drivers. So we've had Hedges, Coates, Farrow, and Ploughman all hit with the drive-through for contact. 7 minutes and 10 seconds still left on the pit stop window being open. Track limits for John Munro. So I'll just get a further update on that as to the severity of the penalty. But and we've had a drive-through for Freddie Hunt as well. So that's several drivers now. Darren King, at the minute, I don't think has pitted, but Bobby Trundley has. So Trundley's pitted from P3. Because Zim, I think, has also pitted as he's dropped down. I'm going to see if I can get to one of our drivers, and he's asked me to do this. So let's see if this works. I'm going to do so. It's a stop go. Looks to be a stop go for. So I've just sent an invite to one of our drivers, who I'm sure will want to have a chat. Let's just see if he answers the call. So, yeah. So it looks like a time penalty of 30 seconds for John Munro. I know that people are... yeah, so Darren King has... so Kazim now takes the lead. It'll be a case of... so I'll try and coordinate. Let's see if we can... we're going to try and get on one of the drivers. I know he very good friend.
Right through, I think.
So...
Looks like it. It's Alex Goldschmidt.
Hello, Mr. Darren S. Cook, our Team BRIT videographer.
No, please don't tell me I'm live.
Unfortunately, you are, my friend.
Alex, how's it looking? How bad are we?
Mate, I must be honest, a big credit to everyone behind the scenes getting this all together, but just looking at you on board going through, looks to be you're about to head to Degner 1, running in P24 at the moment.
Yeah, behind Mr. Hunt, I believe. He's right in front of me, I think.
Yes, or that might be Freddie. That is
Freddie's
no,
isn't he?
No, Freddie's a couple of places up the road, I think. So you've got an Aston in front of you, but that's not the one with Freddie. How have things been? I know that we've had chats that you've been testing other machinery, but you've stepped back into the Porsche. Any reason?
I just felt comfortable on the Porsche going around the track. It was tidy. It gave me my quickest lap. I mean, I think I got 2:05 at some point. Mm-hmm. I just feel a bit more confident in it. He says as he just goes wide. Comes back in again on spoons. I just felt it gave me a bit more faith in the track and the driving.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
I had a bit of carnage on the opening lap though. I don't know if you saw that.
I mean it was a bit later on in the race that you had a bit of a moment curve, and I think you were sideways, and Freddie had to avoid you. What happened there?
A lack of concentration, I think. I won't put it pretty much like now. I think on the opening lap rather on the first corner, I made some places up on the start, which I was really happy with. But just coming into that first corner, I got punted, and I just think the whole driving afterwards, in my head, I was angry at myself for not controlling it a little bit more. And I think you're kind of trying to look at so many things on the screen at once. I was I got myself distracted. So it was my own fault, no one else's.
Well, Darren, all the very best of luck for the remainder of the race with 20 to go. I'm sure
Cheers,
after
Alex.
this
Thank
weekend.
you.
Take care,
no
mate.
worries, man. Thank you very much, guys.
So a big thank you for Darren there. So we've got some good battles happening at the moment. Dave Hedge past an Aston Martin in front. So Hedges hustling through. Then Darren Cook comes into. So we've got only 2.5 minutes for the pit stop window as Dave Hedges flashes the lights. Blue flags. Right. There you go. We've got it seen on the screen for the very first time. So we're fast approaching the final third. So at 22 minutes on the clock remaining, 20 minutes on the clock remaining. If they haven't pitted, there is going to be a post-race penalty pinged in. So we'll make sure that race control, race direction will be looking at this like they've got their eyeballs on stalks. Here's Sandro Ballesteros, just 12, racing with autism. He's also a former Downforce Award winner, as well as is Bobby Trundley. So John Monroe recently took the crown for the PC division, sorry, nearly got my words out wrong there. The Scottish Motor Racing Club esports series that recently took place, and their commentator is still running in this race. Here's Bobby Trundley, P5 Bentley of Ross McGregor in P4. Right, okay, so yeah, so I just had a couple of messages from reference. Freddie Hunt and Dave Harrow have pitted, but their stops were too short. 130-second penalty will be issued this race. So, yeah, minimum 30-second stop as Bobby Trundley is getting closer and closer to the back bumper of Ross McGregor, and not too. Assen. Here we go into 130R. Who's got the bravery here? Is it Trundley? Oh, he's gone and sent it round the outside. He's done the Alonso v Schumacher move. Trundley, where did that one come from? And with them is Riley Phillips. This is a three-way scrap for 4th place. And if they really, really start battling, that's going to allow Josh Martin to pull away. But what a move from Bobby Trundley. As another Aston comes out of the pits. Could be Kazim, I think, judging by that livery. So the pit stop window was officially closed as of around 15 seconds. So we're going to hopefully get another guest who's unfortunately parked his car. Let's see if we can grab a word with someone very, very shortly. The sausage curb protagonist from Silverstone, who seems to not learn his lesson, is Matty Street. Matty, can you hear me? Let's wait until he mutes it. Matty, if you want to unmute your mic. Let's see. I'm just gonna see if Matty, if you can hear me, please. Let's just see. Let's see if I can. Well, he's going to have to do it from his side, but 18 minutes and 56 seconds left to go. So wait for Matty to take his time and decide when he wants to jump in. So I'm just going to give him a simple instruction. So just send him a message. So this battle between Trundley, McGregor, and now Phillips getting into the ante is definitely getting very, very spicy indeed, as Phillips just looking at the opportunities, building. He's building the momentum. I think Trundle just ran wide there, he did. And that allowed McGregor to close. Phillips not too far behind the Bentley. So, funny enough, these are all 3 Volkswagen Group still battling away for 4th place. With Trundle ahead of McGregor and Phillips. King still leads as we've completed now 20 laps of the driving. 20 laps of Suzuka here. As this is really... Now, the strategy in some respects, I think... let's just see if I can... let's just see. Just going to see if I can do something here, but this battle is really, really heated. We're now on board with Riley Phillips. So let's just see how this actually... I think it's not good. It's more than far going to explode. It's, there we go. Look up Luca in the Audi, in the number in 11th position, the 84 Audi. Luca Peklac. Yeah, so this is really going to be a very, very good indeed. As we now have Max Coates, one of the multiple drivers that with drive-through penalties. As there is Luca again going through into Degner 1 and 2, and he's got a Mercedes too far behind. So that could be one of the ones that's been penalised into the hairpin. Now there's Rashid Kassim, been at some point leading the race. So at the moment we have, I think that looks to be Darren King still leading. He has led from lights out so far, as we are fast approaching the last 15.5 minutes. So just over 10 minutes to vote for your DAF driver of the day, which will close that off with 5 minutes remaining. So there is Luke Pound in the traditionally, that's a classic shape, the classic silhouettes of the Aston Martin Vantage. Obviously got a bit of an overhaul for 2019. So we'll see how he gets on. There's Grant Lyman from Simply Race, from Sebastian Kettle Racing in the 240 Aston, going through first and second curve. There's Luca Peklac. And there is a Mercedes behind, and I'm just wondering who that is, because it looks very, very close indeed. And there is a car behind. That's John Munro. So Peklac is being closed in on by John Munro, who has had a stop go. Oh, Munro nearly loses it. I think that Alex Stoth Jones is. I'm just trying to see where he is in comparison. A little bit further adrift. There's Darren King, still leading. Now he's going through Gyaku. So 14 minutes on the clock. It has been a faultless performance from the Team Fordzilla driver. Making a very indelible stamp. So blue flags being waved. So Darren King through. Toby Lee crosses the start-finish line. Here's John against Luca Peklac in the 84 488 GT3 going into the hairpin. Munro looked to be a bit menacing. He's closed on the back bumper coming through Spoon Curve. And that, I'm just wondering who that is behind them. That is definitely a Mercedes. That could be John Munro's gone up the inside underneath the Dunlop gantry, heading to up 130R. He might have the inside run, but Peklaj could sweep across. Peklaj goes all 4 wheels off of the white lines, and I think has lost out 2 places, as that was Warren. Warren was trying to go around the outside on the approach into the Casio triangle on John Munro, and just outbraked it. So Munro now rounds out the top 10 with 12 minutes and 40 left to go on the clock. And there is still plenty of positions to be decided. So John Munro has now got to get the proverbial bits between his teeth. He's got to, I think he's got to channel his inner Alan McNish and go after Grant Lyman in the Aston Martin up in 9th. So plenty of time in some respects. But John Munro, along with Riley Phillips, were 2 of the late entrants into this round, the Texaco round 5 of the eTeam BRIT Summer Series here at Suzuka International Circuit. Big thank you for Texaco for jumping on board with us. So Tobin Lee. So in many respects, yeah, I think I concur with Jack Ashton. Darren King is absolutely flying. No one has been able to touch him in this particular race, as he's now going through 200R. And here's Maximilian Spooner in the 19th place, 64 Mercedes. He's just behind Dave Hedges, who was really pretty good earlier on before he got a drive-through penalty for contact. Here's Bobby Trunley still in P4 ahead of Ross McGregor. Riley Phillips in the 911 Porsche, not that far adrift. Here's Josh Martin in 2nd position in the number 13 Coach Dave Academy Aston Martin Vantage GT3. So I'm keeping an eye on what the gap to P2 at the moment. I'm just waiting for, hopefully we should get some, trying to keep an eye on the timings at the minute. So I think he's quite a distance away as we now head into the final 10 minutes of this race. So I'm just wondering, what is the gap to P2? So I think Darren King has really absolutely nailed the strategy quite handsomely there. So let's just keep an eye on, so the timing now being shown at home. Got just over 5 minutes until the DAF Driver of the Day Award nominations have been given in. So more battling away. Riley Phillips and McGregor get fisticuffs. Oh, McGregor goes wide. Second curve for the Bentley and nearly lost the position to Riley Phillips. The gap last time around was 9.2 seconds between Darren King and Josh Martin. So in many respects, a lot. There's no chance that anyone's going to catch Darren King unless he has an issue. As Ross McGregor and Riley Phillips still banging on each other's door panels as they hurl their way, hustle through Degner 1 and Degner 2 at rapid speed. And they're not that far behind Bobby Trundley. Not that far behind at all. And here we have, joining the virtual commentary box, the sausage curb assaulter from Silverstone, Matty Street. Hello, buddy. How are you?
I'm okay, you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Bit of a difficult race. What's it, buddy? What's happened? I know you told me that you've run out of fuel and didn't fill with enough fuel in the pit stop. What happened?
I guess I just can't count. Yeah, I don't really know. It doesn't help that I'm not 100% sure how the actual game works in the sim, you know, when you come into the pits. So then I just drove out with the same amount of fuel that I ended up starting with, so it was no good.
Yeah, I mean, but like you say, you know, you're one of the regular Team BRIT trophy, but also, you know, I think it's been a learning experience for everyone at Team BRIT jumping on board with esports. I mean, apart from having more air under your rear wing, flying over a sausage curb at Silverstone, how's it been? How's the transition, sort of like using the virtual racing world to hone your skills, ready to go back racing when we do after this pandemic?
I think for the whole of Team BRIT, it's been really, really good. So I know that, especially Luke and Bobby, they've taken to it really well. Me, not so much, because as you've probably found out, I'm absolutely terrible on the sim. But for something that started out just like a weekly social to get all the drivers together, you know, look at it now.
Exactly. We've got an 8-round series, and what a job from, you know, everyone behind the scenes at Team BRIT, eTeam BRIT, to get this all together. A big thank you to Mike Yao from Simply Racers. We've got David Christie, a fellow commentator, racing out there as he goes a bit wide, all coming out of the second half of Spoon Curve. But Matty, from your perspective, having the gusto and guts to go through 130R at about 220 kph in 5th gear, it's just as demanding on the sim, isn't it? It's quite a task. You know, people saying, yeah, you just turn a corner and you're not doing anything, but you guys are actually really working hard behind the wheel, aren't you?
Yeah, no, you've got to really sort of plan beforehand before you know, set yourself up before the corner. And obviously not this time round because it got cut a bit short, but last race, you know, I was sweating when I came off the sim. It's, you know, not necessarily physical hard work, but, you know, requires a lot of mental concentration to keep your levels up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what setup have you got at home? What's your rig like? Just paint us a verbal picture.
So I've borrowed one from a friend and I've set it up in the karting track. I don't really know much about it, if I'm honest. There's a computer. It's I don't really know. I think it's a Fanatec steering wheel and pedal setup, a motion rig, and then just a single screen.
Okay, so a very, very simple setup, but that is hopefully going to keep you steeled and ready for when Team BRIT goes back to the BMW 116 Gas Shocks trophy in the not too distant future. But you're looking forward to the next round at Monza. It's going to be high speed, isn't it, buddy? The cathedral of speed.
Yeah, imagine how high you can get if you hit some of the sausage curbs there.
Oh my God! Through the first chicane, we'll see Matty flying over everything and taking P1 on that one. Thanks very much, Matty. All the very best, and we'll catch up at the next round at Monza. All the very best, mate. Cheers. So a big thank you there to now a nice little message here on YouTube. How do we register? Head to teambrit.co.uk/eraces, and you can, as long as you got the software to join on board for the next. So already, your votes should have now been casted for the DAF driver of the day, which we'll announce post-race. Also find out who is the Vasaro Flying Lap winner this weekend, and we'll also find out a lot more other things, hopefully 3 post-race. But King leads, Josh Martin, Rashid Kazim, Bobby Trunley, Ross McGregor, Tobin Lee, Riley Phillips. Then got Andy Tucker rounding out the top 15 behind. And is that Max Coates trying to struggle with him? 2 Astons. Oh, Coates was nearly in the wall on the right side there. If that was Max Coates, that was definitely brazen. As Luke Pound, I think, having a backmarker to try and contend with. There's Andy Tucker. So I think he has got Max Coates behind him in that sort of respect. So what we can then do is see how things proceed. So Bobby Trunley rounds out P4. So it's so it's 20. Thank you very much to Simply Race saying to it's free to enter, first come first serve, locked to 28 drivers for the series, I think realistically it's been very difficult for some of the drivers as we head into the last 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Moments away from crowning our what looks to be our 5th different race winner in 5 successive races over the last 5 weeks. 3 more to go. Oh, I've just had news that we've had another sent out, and that was for Spencer, who's yes, that's Spencer in the 21 Aston Martin, I believe, that now has got a contact. So here's Rashid Kazim, and has got a Mercedes on the back bumper, looks to be a back marker. So Bobby Trundley trying to get a double toe. Here's John Munro still running in around about 10th position, and that's David Farrow in the number 2 Mercedes being shown the blue flags to get out of the way of Bobby Trundley. So Bobby Trundley now has probably a couple of laps left. Now I think David Christie has had David Christie's had a track limits in. Right, okay. So I'm definitely going to have to get him on the mic a little bit later. I've now found out how I can actually invite drivers in, and we'll do that afterwards. So we go into the last couple of minutes. As here's Ben Warren going a bit wide. Oh, now the Mercedes got a bit unsettled there, as he's been trying to chase after Grant Lyman in the 240. So as Warren does take the position, Lyman went a bit wide, coming out of what I think might have been, yeah, that would have been Degner 2. So we are literally just a few moments. That's Tucker in the barriers, and I think that's Max Coates in the barriers coming out of Degner 2 with 60 seconds on the clock. That is the battle for 14th. And Tucker's still going. Where's Coates? He's dropped down considerably. So I'm sure that one's going to be investigated. I'll leave that one. We'll find out post-race if there are any penalties issued. But we are... can't believe it. And it's quite quick when you see how much an hour has gone by. So we will find out who will be winner of the Texaco round 5 backed by Texaco here at Suzuka, as David Farrow comes towards through 200R through into Spoon Curve, still running in 20th position. So we're going to have to very shortly break away, I think, to our leader, which I believe is still Darren King in the Fordzilla Mercedes AMG GT3. Timer has expired. Here we are. Here is your race. The number 38 of Darren King from Team Fordzilla. The timer has gone red. He's going through Gyaku Bend and then through into Dunlop for the final time of this race. It's been an absolutely brilliant performance from the Team Fordzilla ace. Took the cash up, pole position, and it looks to be that we will have 5 different winners from 5 different races. Ploughman at Brands, Toth Jones at Spa, Warren at Hungaroring, Trundley at Silverstone. Through into the hairpin, the slowest corner on this circuit, comes Darren King. I'm going to keep hopefully following a bit more action. There's a bit more action a little bit further down the order. I think I've just seen Ross McGregor, who's down in P3, so he will round out our podium through into turns 13 and 14 at Spoon Curve for the final time. Let's just keep with Darren King for the minute. He's going to exit out the corner, put the hammer to the floor. It's hammer time, as they tell Lewis Hamilton in Formula One. It's now the run to the finish, down into 130R, fully committed. Right-hand side, left-hand side, full throttle. Probably hardly any lift there as he heads into the Casio Triangle for the final time. Ladies and gentlemen, we are seconds away as Darren King comes round the final corner to win Texaco Round 5 here at Suzuka, flashing the lights on the Mercedes-AMG GT3. Well done. 5 different winners from 5 different races and done in absolutely magnanimous style. True domination, GeoF1 on YouTube. A brilliant job there. 30 laps completed. So next up will be, we're on board now. We've caught up with Rashid Kazim, as very shortly your runner-up will be the number 13 of Aston Martin of Josh Martin, followed briefly by the number 107 of Ross McGregor. Here's Kazim coming through the final corner. What a great from the Aston racer. He was at some point leading. Ross McGregor completes the podium. Rashad Kazim in P4, shortly ahead of Bobby Trundy, P5. So Warren, Toth Jones, Lyman, Pecklage, Tucker, respectively. Trundley in 5th. Tobin Lee will soon come across the start-finish line to take what is effectively 6th position ahead of a great performance from Riley Phillips from Fun Cup. Another good performance from Luke Pound in P8. John Munro will take 8th position. But what a race. Pecklage, Tucker, Christie ran at the top 15. Spooner, Ballesteros, Max Coates, Freddie Hunt, and Spencer in the number 3 round out the top 20. As Anthony Hobbs now crosses the line in the number 21. But what a race. So very shortly we'll hopefully speak to our top 3 here in the virtual Simply Race press conference. A big thank you to everyone that's been watching. So I think we'll need to speak to, if we can, our top 3, if our stream director can do that very shortly. So by an absolute... so the fastest lap, the Vasaro fastest lap, it's a clean sweep for Darren King, a 1:04.69 during this race on lap number 7. So fastest in qualifying, wins the race outright, and then also takes, well, joining me, a debutante on the eTeam BRIT Summer Series, John Munro joins me, SMRC PC champion from the Spring Series quite recently. John, a great dice, I think, between yourselves, the likes of Bobby Trundley, Kazim, amongst others. How was it? I know you've had a short amount of time to get in the cockpit ready to go for this one.
Yeah, it was great fun. I was really enjoying the battle with Bobby early on. I think we kind of switched positions a couple of times. There was some really good defensive maneuvers by Bobby, and it was brilliant racing. Really enjoyed it. I'm also delighted with how ACC was in a race situation as well, because that's the first time for me online. So yeah, it was great. It's just a real shame about the pit stop. I got a 30-second stop and go for speeding the pit lane because I didn't know that you couldn't have the limiter on in second gear. So obviously that cost us a lot of time in the end, but I managed to get back in the top 10. So overall, it was great fun, Alex.
That's brilliant. Bit of a rookie error, but I know.
Yeah,
for round 6 at Monza in a week's time, so that's going to be interesting. But with the Bentley, I mean, did that match your driving style? That's the biggest thing, because you look like you're on it quite quickly.
I think so. I haven't had a chance to test the different cars yet. I think I drove a race yesterday in the Jaguar, and this was the first time in the Bentley, so I haven't really had a chance to play around with it. I signed up for the event a couple of hours ago, so it was just a case of getting straight on, picking a car and going with it. But the Bentley seemed really good, to be honest. A lot of the guys in the chat throughout the race were complaining about how quick the Bentleys were, so I don't really have any complaints about it. I think if I put some more time into it, obviously learn that you can't change it to second gear in the pit lane, I think I'll be able to be reasonably competitive, because we were on for a good top 5 there. So no, it was great fun.
I think you could have even been within a shot of the podium there, John. But thank you for joining us here for round 5. Really, it's been a while since we last caught up as well, wasn't it, mate? I mean, I've kept an eye on John's antics. Now, we've now got with us eTeam BRIT manager Max Spooner. Max, what a 5th race of the 8-round calendar we've had.
Yeah, it was a bit of a quite of a stressful one for me. I think I lost about 2 minutes in the pit somewhere. But yeah, no, sort of listening to the other drivers, sounds like they were having some problems and contact in a few places.
Yeah, no, good. Also joining us, hello, Mr. Max Coates. Long time no speak.
Hello. I just wondered why the voices had all changed. All right.
I think our stream director is definitely having a bit of fun with this, but yeah, a bit of a difficult qualifying and also race for you, mate.
Yeah. I mean, qualifying, that was the first time I'd driven the car around the track. So, yeah, it probably explains why I was a little bit further down pace-wise than where I'd maybe hoped to be. But whatever, it's one of them things. It's all good fun. And then race, I got a black flag right at the start. And to be fair, I don't really know why. I guess I must have caused the first car to crash. But as far as I was concerned, I thought I'd left loads of room. So anyway, we came back through all right, and then yeah, little shunt with Andrew Tucker on the last lap, but it's one of them. It's good fun.
No, that's fair enough. I think if we're going to try and speak to guys now that we've taken things to a completely different level for round 5 of the 8-round summer series. I mean, what are your thoughts? You know, we've been streaming on multiple broadcasts. I know that some of you guys have been broadcasting on Twitch directly. I know you have, Matt. So I know you've had some issues this week as well. I think, yeah, we're getting random victims being thrown into my wake post-race. But, I mean, you've been quite busy as well. I think you're doing the PowerMax series as well, if memory serves me correctly. Is that right?
Yeah, so PowerMax series, this Team BRIT. Sorry, this is Team BRIT. I always get confused, Team BRIT and Britcar. It's a bit of a tongue twister. So yeah, Team BRIT series, Britcar series, PowerMax series. Should be doing the mini challenge one that's coming up. Also doing a few kind of others that are a bit more offline. So yeah, there's loads and loads and loads of racing going on, which is great fun.
Well, thank you guys for taking part. Really do appreciate it. Good. So that is it for the Texaco round 5 of the 2020 eTeam BRIT Summer Series. Darren King from Team Fordzilla comes in, sweeps the board, gets the Karsha Pole Position Award, gets the Versaro Fastest Lap, and what's more, he also will get an eTeam BRIT t-shirt winging its way to him in the post. Thank you very much to all our competitors for joining in. Thank you ever so much for those that have interacted with us on Facebook, YouTube. We will make an announcement of the DAF driver of the day. Tune in next week where we head to the Autodromo Nazionale Monza in Italy for round 6 of the season. We can't wait. The same format. Hopefully, we'll see you then in just a week's time. Thank you very much for tuning in. Head to www.teambrit.co.uk/e-races. Maximum of a 28-strong grid. We'll see you in a week's time. Thank you for joining me, Alex Goldschmidt. Thank you to our drivers. Thank you to Simply Race, Texaco, Halverline, DAF, Karsha, Cinetic, Limo, and all our sponsors for backing us through these difficult times. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a good one. Good night from me.